we're pleased to be talking to State Representative Matt Hostettler, who is running for re-election to the Indiana House of Representatives. We're joined by Tara Barney, the President and CEO of the Southwest Indiana Chamber, and Patty Vanoven, the Executive Director of the Gibson County Chamber of Commerce. Representative Hostettler is joining us from his home, which is in part of our region that does not have great broadband or internet services. So he is on just by phone, but we're so thrilled that he could be here with us today. Appreciate his service in the General Assembly and thankful for the time with him today. And Tara, I'm gonna now turn the conversation over to you to kind of dive in on some questions and let's talk about the issues.
Thanks, Sally, and thank you, Representative, for being with us. I'm sure in our conversation, you'll be able to repeat the fact that you have to go to extraordinary lengths to get good service. So it leads to one of those things that both the chamber community and many of our constituents care about. But I want to start off our conversation today by recognizing that our region has been very intent on getting the bridge built across the Ohio River so we can connect I-69 for many years. And we're anticipating a record of decision in the next few months, but it seems to be stalled really over the decision on the fate of the two existing bridges. We'd love your thoughts on how we can support completing this interstate for the good of Indiana and also supporting the community's need to keep both of these existing bridges intact so that our citizens can circulate back and forth to work. Any comments that you can share with us on that would be very welcome.
I would have to, and I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but I would think that it would be a continued focal point of all of the infrastructure development we've already had up until this point, and whether it's keeping the twin bridges functional or finally completing, the vision of I-69. And at some point, due to stuff that's out of our control, we can only go so far if our friends to the south aren't going to, live up to their end. But I would be really, really shocked if everybody got everything in a row as far as on the federal level and state of Kentucky, and we wouldn't be able to live up to our end. I'm not in Ways and Means, and I'm not on Roads and Transportation, but I think that, our Republican majority has shown that we want to, infrastructure is important to us, and especially a place like Southwest Indiana that is busting at the seams in a good way. I mean, you can't build houses fast enough. People can't, really they need to put, a freeway from the whole state of Illinois into southwestern Indiana as well. And so I will do everything in my power to make sure that our region, gets what we need, because if our region gets what we need, then the state of Indiana gets a lot more as well. So I would think that Indianapolis wants to be in Kentucky as bad, if not worse, than Evansville wants to be able to get into and out of Kentucky.
Well, we sure appreciate your support. And I think that's a great idea on helping our Illinois talent come work in Southwest Indiana. So thanks for that question. Yeah. I'm going to lob this to Patty.
That was kind of a tongue-in-cheek. I don't want to say that I'm going to get a freeway from Mount Carmel.
No. We're not holding you to that at all.
Right. But I'm sure Patty can speak to it as well. That the problem we have is there's not enough houses, and we can't build them as fast as we can sell them. That's the way it feels to me. And I know there's portions of Gibson County that's not the case, but the Interstate 64 and US 41 corridors, that's they are tripping over each other. And if Toyota wouldn't have spent such an amazing amount of money on the ground that they have, then we might be able to sell more ground for people to build homes. But yeah, I would think that everyone in Indianapolis would share the sentiment that they want Southwest Indiana to be as accessible as possible to everyone around us.
Thanks, Patty.
Hey, Matt. So the next question is, while it was hoped that the federal government would address concerns about business liability for those companies operating during the pandemic, it appears that this issue will fall to the individual states. Many states have already taken action in this area. What is your view on of the issue? Specifically, what activities issues should be covered, and do you plan to play a role in authorizing and sponsoring legislation on the issue? And that this right now in Gibson County, because this weekend was supposed to be Heritage Days, this is very near and dear. So
Right.
throw that one
Right.
to you.
Right. So I believe that, well, we wanted to very, very specifically. I don't know how much. I try not to, I don't want to be a squeaky wheel, but some of my colleagues and I, expressed that the reason a lot of business was being held back from the very beginning, in April, we could have all turned around and addressed this and given schools and businesses, tort protection during this, because they need it, period. It's just they need it. And in a time when the worst thing you can do is when you already have an economic problem and the government overregulates and puts more burden on people that are hard to have, that's just poor practice. And we should have got together and addressed this, because I feel that a lot of states are going to get sued. They're lining up to sue them, and they're going to sue the government. And I've talked to legislators in other states, and that's what's going to happen. And the legislature should have been allowed to step in and voice the concerns of the entire state, because the Attorney General's first job may very well be to defend a bunch of executive orders that crush hundreds of Hoosier businesses. And so I hate to, but I will fight for as much tort reform and as much liability protection as is possible, and would have loved to have done it 6 months ago. So we weren't talking about it now, but the Constitution doesn't allow it. And so I believe it's going to be addressed in the next session. And I believe that, as fired up as I am about it, I don't hold a candle to some of the other legislators that they all but lost their businesses because of what was done. And, I'm a small business owner myself, and nobody planned for a day when the price of oil would go negative. I mean, it was literally, everything became less than worthless in the industry that I work in, and it was crippling to a small, struggling business trying to get off the ground. So any time that we can step in, whether it's tort protection or something else, and make it easier for businesses not to be overregulated, I would be very supportive of any, I don't want to say any and all, but I would do my part to make sure that people can open up the facilities that they want to open, and realize that individuals should take some responsibility for where they choose to go and what they choose to do. Sorry, long-winded answer.
That's a great segue to the next question I want to make sure we have time for, because obviously the pandemic has put a heck of a strain on state budgets. And you're going into the budget session this year, so we'd love to know what you are most interested in protecting with our scarce situation, and where you might see opportunities to make adjustments.
The good part is we've found a bunch of silly legislation, which we work on that a lot, actually. There's a whole committee, select committee on government reduction. It sounds like a really goofy thing, but all we do is cut stupid spending, and I love it. It's my favorite. Everything gets voted out of there unanimously. And so I think that there's been some things, even as simple as taking the stickers off of a registered license plate. Those stickers cost the state $6 million a year. With the technology that officers have at their fingertips now, they can just scan a barcode or we don't need to keep paying for a sticker every year to renew a registration. So that's just a very small example. I hope that we can find bigger places of basically expensive bureaucracy that we can cut. I don't know what that exactly looks like, but that's what I would take as an opportunity, something that we could positive going forward, and it's something that we need to fight to protect. We made really tremendous investment in K through 12 and in Department of Child Services in the last budget. Huge. I think it was over $700 million all together K through 12, and over $200 million in Department of Child Services. And I don't want to go back right after we right after we were able to make this improvement. And I don't want to go back, and if we can, I don't want to try to do that. I would like to do everything we can short of having to cut. But in 2018, the vast majority of Hoosiers voted to pass the balanced budget amendment. And so whether or not we want to do something or not want to do something, we have a balanced budget amendment, and I want to have, I guess the the bottom answer is I want to pass a balanced budget, and I want to be able to protect the K through 12 and DCS as we do it. I don't know if that's possible, but because of the same reason, I believe a lot of other things, now we have a constitutional obligation to whatever revenue we're going to get, we don't spend any more than that. And we're going to be put to the test. And I think at the end of the day, we'll be very glad that we had a $2 billion rainy day fund, even though a lot of it's gone. But that would be my main goal, is to keep the state on a balanced budget.
Well, thanks for that, Representative. I'm going to toss to Patty to keep our conversation going.
Matt, this is, I think, the last question we have, but we just want to ask you, what is the main issue you plan on champion in the upcoming legislative session?
Oh, I wouldn't say champion, but I will be doing what I can to be a part of anything to reduce government regulation that makes it more expensive to do business. And I don't, there's stuff that's been talked about, and there's other people that want to be the authors, and then that's fine, but I'd love to just be a part of something like that. And, you know, like I said, if we can do anything we can to keep Southwest Indiana moving towards being more accessible, I'd like to continue to be a part of that. We were fortunate in the budget last year. We were able to get, in the last two, not the last two budgets, the last budget, we were able to bring an extra judge and a magistrate to Vanderburgh County. And we were able to also bring a magistrate to Gibson County to kind of relieve the judge's workload. And so that's stuff we don't really talk about a lot, but I'd like to continue to try to help our legal system, especially if it deals with kiddos, to be efficient and timely, because we've just done some stuff with some foster children, and that's why I really want to be able to do everything we can to protect DCS as well. So if there's anything we can do to keep our area well staffed for the kiddos, and to be able to do it by finding other parts of government that are not necessary, that's the stuff I want to be around, be a part of, and to be just honest, it's an issue that's near and dear to my heart. I'm working with some folks on hopefully doing some more pro-life legislation. I know this probably isn't the venue for that, but in all transparency, that's a big reason why I'm involved up there.
Well, Representative, we certainly appreciate knowing what your priorities are. We have a few more minutes. May I sneak in one more question? I'd really like to just reference the fact that so much of our work here has just brought to light the importance of educational attainment and how we help our Hoosiers to both graduate from high school and go on to additional credentialing so that they're prepared to help us not just achieve goals for the region, but achieve goals for them and their families. Do you have thoughts on what we could do better in that space?
So this is kind of a lot of spitballing. And this is some discussions I've had with some folks on the education committee. I'd like to do as much as we can to make it somehow that K through 12 vocational for anyone. You don't have to push it. But just make sure guys like myself, I don't know if I'm glad I did, but for some of the stuff that I do, but there are a lot of young men in Southwest Indiana that if you told them at 16 years old, you can find a job making $40 an hour if you do this for the next 2 years. I think that would be, if you could somehow keep, and we're doing it, the technical school, that's already being done. You know, so if we can keep facilitating places that employers can explain to educators, this is what we're looking for. I think, anytime we can create and foster partnerships like that, I believe that, the more business is allowed to be a part of shaping what they're looking for, the better education can be. So.
Well, thank you for that.
Personally.
It's one of those things that's a significant priority for the business community. I thought we had an extra minute or so, I'd ask that question. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, I just wanted to thank you for the time and give me a chance to speak. And thanks again to Sally for all that she does up in Indianapolis. She's a very, very objective and very reasonable person when you're talking to about stuff. And not everybody's like that. There are people in politics that kind of have angles sometimes. I know that's crazy, hard to believe. But when you talk to Sally, you know the beginning and the end, and you know every side of every story. and just wanted to give her a shout out, and thanks. And you guys have a very effective and trustworthy advocate up there for you guys at the State House.
Thank you, Representative.
And we're always happy to hear that, because we think we've got a great partnership. But we have a great partnership with the people that want to run for office. So thank you for what you're doing too, Matt.
All right. No, you're welcome. And if there's ever any specifics, and the broadband, I will touch on that one more time. I promise I'm trying to be part of that discussion. And right now there's a lot of finger pointing as far as where some things went. So I know there's some people on this call. It's not that I'm indifferent, as I haven't really got to the bottom of everything that's happened, but I'll continue to be an advocate so that next time I do a Zoom call from my house, I can actually sit in the house while I do it. That'd be great.
Well, we'll put your picture up with this recording. So.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you guys so much for giving me some time today.
Sure. Thank you for yours.
Yes.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.